everyone, I'm Rachel Ray, and this is I'll Sleep When I'm Dead. This is a podcast about drive, what fuels people that love hard work, and what we can learn from one another. I'm excited for everyone to join me for conversations with people I know and people I want to know better. Welcome to I'll Sleep When I'm Dead. Today is very, very special to me. The day I met today's guest, I was so nervous, my hands were sweating. He came on the daytime talk show and I went to his room to welcome him. I had left some wine, a nice French wine in a big bottle inside and a little piece of French serviceware. I think it was a soup bowl. Anyway, I left some gifts in his room and I was just so nervous. What would I say? How would I welcome this person? My hands covered in sweat. I go to take the handle of the door to his dressing room. I knock. Okay, come on in. I open the door and there is my guest on the show and I almost passed out. I couldn't even breathe. I had admired this person all of my life. This was Jacques Pépin. And I was nervous to meet him because, well, he's Jacques Pépin, the world's greatest chef. And someone that had been a part of my life for so long, but that I had never met. And when I walk in the room, it's still morning-ish. Morning is weird for me because I get up at 4 a.m. But I walk into the room and he has some wine already poured in his glass and he's relaxing on the sofa, very calm. And he has his doggy on the back and rubbing the belly of the doggy. I almost burst into tears. I'm like, this is even better. People tell you never meet your heroes in life because sometimes they fail you. This raised this person from already the top to way beyond the top, the universe. I was just so filled with joy. But right now, we're here to celebrate the campaign in honor of Jacques Pépin's 90th birthday. My mother just turned 91, so I'm quite excited about this. I have so much to ask him. I have to shut up soon. We are here also celebrating his foundation because the foundation is kicking off a year-long nationwide fundraising campaign. And my foundation, mine and my husband, John, our foundation has been partners with the Jacques Pépin Foundation for a while, and we celebrate each other with our work to help feed people and teach them about good food and to give children, our next generations, all of the tools they need to build good, strong, healthy lives and to support our communities when they're in need of our services. I love you, Jacques Pépin, and thank you for doing our show today. Welcome.
Thank you. Oh boy, thank you. What am I going to say after that? You know, I mean, cooking is different than it used to be. And certainly when I worked in Paris and even after I came here, the cook was at the bottom of the social scale, very low. But now sometimes we are genius. And, you know, basically we're still mashed potato maker, you know, so you cannot get too crazy with that.
And that's what I love about you is your humility and your humanity. And can you speak a little bit about that? I don't think that people understand how important it is to be humble about the gift of having work, whether you're a chef or a rocket scientist. What do you think about that?
For the good of all, yes, without any question. I mean, you know, I always advise any would-be cook to try to work with the best possible chef so that you look at it to the food not through your eye, but through their eye, to try to change your sense of aesthetic, your sense of taste, and you absorb it, and you work with another one. Eventually, you take all of that and filter it through your own sense of taste, and you start doing your own stuff. But basically, if I am chef in a restaurant and someone order a rack of lamb, I will do it medium rare. This is the way I like it too. But if the person like it very well done, or basically raw like my mother, I would do it the way they want. I have had chefs coming out say, "Who wants that?" No, you know, you're here to please people, to make them happy. So my mother would have a steak in a skillet and she would drop it like 30 seconds on each side. It was raw in the center and cold. My father was a steak well done.
My sister, Mia Sarella, Maria, has everything done, burnt. For me, no, I want the medium rare or raw. It's fine. Terrific per me. But I agree with that concept, and my mother raised me that way. I grew up in the restaurant business, as did you, surrounded by women, strong women. My mother worked 100 hours a week and never complained once in her life. But my mother always thought, we're here to be of service to our neighbors, our community, our friends. We're not here to tell people how they should think or eat or live. We're here to serve them. And that's a big difference in the school of thought. There are many chefs who believe only one way, only my way, and no one else's. Can you discuss that? How did you come to that? That the person that you're serving should be the person you're serving rather than they're there to eat however you want to serve them.
Absolutely, yes. But I mean, very often the chef would say, okay, you do it your own style. They leave you leeway, then you do it the way you like to eat. But very often when you start knowing people or when people come to your house, it's always good to know those people are either an allergy or those people don't like string beans or whatever. You want to please someone, so I'm not going to invite someone that I don't know and serve sweetbread or tripe. Maybe they would love it, but I have no idea. You have to work out this way because, I mean, yes, cooking for someone, you cannot cook indifferently. You have to put a lot of yourself in it. So you want to please someone. Maybe it's a purest reflection of love, cooking, because you cook for your granddaughter or you cook for your grandmother or for your cousin, for your friend, for your lover, whoever, but you have to give a lot of yourself in cooking, and happiness is right there in the kitchen. And when there is a meeting of the Republican and the Democrat now, before they start talking, say, okay, everyone has to sit down and share a bottle of wine.
Lighten up, you see.
It was always this way. In 1824, whatever, the king in France, Louis XVIII, had a great chef for the Congress of Vienna. So he said, I'm going to give you more advice. I said, no, I need more chefs. More chefs too. And that was the idea, which we don't do enough. I mean, when I work with the president in France, I serve Eisenhower, Nehru, Tito, Macmillan, the head of state de la chef. And it was good. I mean, people sit down together to talk and eat, not necessarily agree, but the disagreement are more sophisticated.
Sophisticated when you have a full belly and a mouthful of wine.
Yes. So if someone doesn't like wine, doesn't like to eat, and doesn't like dog, I don't know what I would do with that person.
I am the same. There's so much there to discuss. You have to look at who you're feeding, not who's feeding your ego. To me, it's more important how we treat each other in the world, whatever job you do, whether you work in food or not. It's more important how we treat one another. One of the things that I think has been essential to my life and my success over the years has been the partner that I chose. I love my husband, John. And John works with me and has built our business and our brand together. But we agreed in concept about service to community, service to the world, service to animals, to children. And husband and I didn't get married until very late in life, 37 and 38 years old. But it was very important to me that I marry him because I thought this person could be a true partner in what I believe in and helping people and building not a business, but a community. You're a beautiful and a spitfire, incredible wife has passed on a few years ago now. But I always thought, what a great force that was. You were married for, 50? More than 50 years. You were together for a very long time.
54, yeah.
So talk about the importance of that source of energy. And I'm sure it continues in your life to this day, to this moment, going into your 90th year, and what she's brought to your family, to this world, to your life. Can you talk about that importance in your life?
Well, I wouldn't be who I am without Gloria. I mean, she changed my life. She took care of things that I didn't take care of. And up to now, she died 4.5 years ago. And I tell you, I still cannot sign a check or know what we have in the bank or stuff like this, or what those bills are for. I'm totally lost there. She took care of that. I never took care of that. So she made it possible for me to do what I did, and always supported me, whether I was writing a book or whether I was doing classes or whether I was doing a cruise or whether she was always with me. And she was born in New York City from a Puerto Rican and Cuban father and Puerto Rican mother, but
she was spicy.
Yes. And often people would even tell me, oh, you're the quintessential French chef too. So I opened my book, page 28. I have a black bean soup from Gloria, then a lobster roll from Connecticut, then a Shirazi sushi from somewhere else. So I think after more than half a century in America, I don't feel myself as being very chauvinistic. Yeah, I do some French cooking, but I don't think in those terms, whether it's French or not French or Italian or stuff. So
she opened the window for you on the world.
I'm a quintessential American chef now.
I love that you talk talk about that you guys were different and brought something to each other, because that's what I love about John. You know, he's a lawyer and a musician. I'm not a musician. I'm certainly no lawyer. I hate reading legal documents and official stuff, but we balance each other in a weird way. We allow each other to be open to different worlds. I also think it's fun to be able to get out thoughts truthfully. Did you guys ever fight? And if you fought, was it quick or stretched out?
Well, both, but usually pretty fast and all that. In that way. And I always said after 54 years of marriage, if you have an argument with your wife, if you don't agree, I did what she wanted. But when we agreed, we did what I wanted. So that balance.
It is. It's balance. It's balance. So your dad was a woodworker. My grandpa, who was like my dad to me, he was a stone worker. And my mama and my grandpa, mi nono and my mama, they were the biggest influences in my life. And I know the women in your family were very big influences in your life. And you grew up working very hard from very young. I've always been around people that can work quite literally 80 hours to 100 hours a week. Can you talk about the influences of hard workers that came before you and that you grew up with?
Well, certainly I am from Lyon in France, a town between the Riviera and Paris on the east side next to Switzerland. It's known for great food, but it's particularly known for the formidable woman of Lyon. I mean, you talk about three-star restaurant, and there was no three-star restaurant except in Lyon, in the three-star, La Mère Brasier, Léa de Lyon. I knew a whole bunch of them. Well, in my family, the women were not maybe as exalted as this, but I count 12 restaurants in Lyon and in the area, 12 of them owned by women in my family. My mother had 2 or 3, and a sister-in-law, and niece, cousin, aunt, and so forth. So when I was with the presidents in France between 56 and 58, I remember going back to Lyon, back to see my mother too. Then I go to Nantes, a little town where my aunt there had a big restaurant on the lake. And I go into the kitchen. She threw me out. She said, "You used too much butter. Get out of there." I mean, no one was impressed. I come from the kitchen. No, those women were not very impressionable.
You know, we have another thing in common, Howard Johnson's. My mother worked for a man who owned many, many types of restaurants. Among them, he owned franchise Howard Johnson's. Now, the importance of knowing that it were franchise Howard Johnson's restaurants is that you can serve anything you want as long as you also serve the regular menu. You can do whatever you want for other food. So my mama, she worked in all kinds of restaurants. She ran them and would train everyone. And when she was in a Howard Johnson's, if she was there, she could make the specials. She'd make Mongolian stuffed veal breast. She'd make chicken livers with brandy. You know, she'd make whatever she wanted. And people would dress up to come and eat her food and find her. Me, I was the dishwasher first, the dish machine operator. Terrible job. Always smelled like old eggs and bad food. It was 130 Fahrenheit degrees. It was horrible. And then I was a line cook and a fountain girl. I worked every job in every restaurant. I was lucky when I could clean shrimp and clean the walk-in and prepare food. I felt like the luckiest girl in the world. But I remember everyone loved coming to Howard Johnson's because of the Welsh rarebit, the boeuf bourguignon, really good food that was created by yourself and Pierre Frani. See?
Yeah. Howard D. Johnson, the one who created the company, came to my wedding. He came to the christening of Claudine and so forth at Craig
Your daughter.
So we were kind of a friend. But when I was with the president in France, I've never been on a newspaper, on a magazine, on the television, barely didn't exist. So the cook was really at the bottom of the social scale. And no one will ever call you to applaud you. Are you kidding? That didn't exist. So when I was offered that job in New York, in Washington, I really did not realize the potential. I didn't think it was a big deal because I had done that. But Howard Johnson, on the other hand, was totally different. American eating habit, mass production, marketing, chemistry of food. I had 2 chemists working. I did 10 years at Howard Johnson, and I left to open a restaurant called La Potagerie on Fifth Avenue in New York. mass production. Then I was a consultant for the Russian tea room. We did 35,000 people a day. And then I was a consultant at, not at the World Trade Center, 35,000. And I was at the Russian tea room also. I'm saying that to say that I would never have been able to do any of those jobs without the training of Howard Johnson. As a French chef, I would know about mass production, marketing, chemistry. So in life, you do those decisions. We project you in a certain area, which sometimes you don't even realize it at that point. Then after a while, it kind of equalizes, and you do another decision that will project you somewhere else. And that's how life goes, by projection this way, and you learn, you acclimate, and you move on forward to something else. And luck come into be. I've been extremely lucky to, whether it was at the beginning of television or other thing or book. So yes, luck is very important.
But it's very important not to work for money. You have to work for experience and always be grateful for work, in my opinion. I think that's what you're saying. Also, it's not about how much money you get. It's about the experience and whether or not you appreciate it. This is what drives you forward, yes? It keeps you trying to learn.
You have to make a living. But basically, when I work in the kitchen 12, 14 hours a day, it was pretty common behind the stove. And it's a hard work to do. People don't realize that you go and eat at Daniel, and you have one dish that you go, and each time it's exactly the same fantastic dish or whatever. Let's say a chicken with morel. Well, if you were looking in the kitchen, the guy may have done it 8 or 10 times that night, 8 or 10 orders. If you take exactly count of what he did, 8 times it changed. 8 times it was different. Not much different. A little, you taste, you adjust. You put a tablespoon of water, you adjust. Why? The stove is a bit higher, or you cook with gas or electricity, or stainless steel or aluminum. The chicken is thicker, thinner. So you don't even realize that, but you change each time in order for the dish to be the same each time.
To adjust.
It has to be changed each time, maybe slightly.
So it remains lo steso, but you had to adjust everything and understand that.
That's the difference between a professional chef and a chef at home.
I think home chefs can do that too. Depends how often you cook. You have to learn the adjustments and the art of it. Every day I make family lunch because it makes me so happy. But usually when I cook for a big group, I'm not hungry at all. I eat scrambled eggs at midnight or aglio olio with lots of anchovies after I clean the kitchen. It's very funny, but the more I cook in a day, the less interested I am in the food. How do you eat? Do you feel like eating when you sit with everyone, or you feel like eating some scrambled eggs at midnight?
No, more now, but when I was in the professional kitchen, without any question, you cook. When I serve people at the table, I was the last one to be served. I said, and by the time I put stuff on my plate and get from the kitchen to the table, I finish what I had on my plate.
You eat standing up and out of the pot.
And very often in big restaurants, very fancy restaurants, you finish the evening exhausted, you take out some pate, cheese.
Yes, exactly, something
like
simple.
You sit down and you eat that. You don't eat the lobster souffle or so.
You want something simple and just a little snack, and then.
But that's why I liked your show too. So I think we had a great time, but I like your food because it's very straightforward, approachable, very honest.
Thank you. I have 3 shows I think you would love. You can do all of them or one of them, but you must do at least one.
Okay. Kelsey's got to set that up for me. I forgot.
Pinky swear. Put your pinky up. I want to see your pinky.
Right, okay.
Pinky swear.
All right.
Okay. So I think that life is always about learning and moving forward. Did you learn anything new today? Or can you think of something you learned this week that made you very happy?
Well, what you said about me, boy, I didn't know all of that stuff. Makes me very happy. I didn't think that was that important. No, I'm kidding. But yes, you always, if you keep your mind open, you always, whether you cook with, keep your mind, you're going to learn something. Maybe you learn what not to do. Say, wow.
Yes. You're like, wow, not going to do that.
Well, I wouldn't do that.
I love that you said that. That's very true. Sometimes what you learn is what not to do, not just what to do. Okay, last question. If you're going to, sometimes I sit down to write shows. Well, no, I have one more thing too. Sometimes I sit down to write a show and I'm like, well, let me research what other people have done with these types of ingredients. If I'm going gardening and I have a lot of this today or a lot of that tomorrow. Sometimes I Google what did someone do and I find my own recipe.
Oh, yeah, that happened.
Do you ever research something you want to try and find that you already did it?
All the time. Because, I mean, I have 33 books, whatever, and there's so many thousand. And we did those Facebook. We've done 380 now of those 4-minute Facebook. Sometimes I tell myself, I'm going to put a piece of salmon and do this. Oh, that's a good idea. So I do that. I've done exactly.
You already did it.
Yeah, a year. So I have to look at it now, not to find new idea, but to find what not to do because I've already done it.
Because you've already done it. Okay, now this is embarrassing. We're here to also celebrate your 33rd book, which is about your art.
Yes, well.
Now I am ridiculously spoiled because I have your art in my home in upstate. I have the cabin in the woods on the wall, and I have roosters and all sorts. I am so spoiled with Jacques Pépin art.
Oh, thank you.
I just wanted to show you a little bit of what I do at my desk in my tiny little studio.
I know you do drawing too.
Next to my...
There, right?
No, but they're stupid. I call them foodles. I just draw recipes and put them in boxes with groceries and send them to friends on their birthdays and things.
That's good, yes.
But you've been drawing your menus and recipes for decades.
Yes.
These are just my foodles.
See, that's it.
I'm just showing you that I'm trying. I'm not there yet. I'm no Jacques Pépin.
No, of course you are there. You are there.
What has art brought to your life different than the kitchen? What does the painting of food bring to your soul different than cooking of food?
Well, when I start painting, very often I don't know where I'm going. But at some point, when I start adding, then it takes a hold of you and you react to it. And I don't try now to be right or wrong, say, is it good or not? No, I just react to it in terms of color, in terms of shape, and so forth. So very often I don't intend to do food, especially when I get into more abstract, but I always end up having like a buffet of things piled up on top of another. Very often goes back to food without even realizing it, except when I get into flowers too and so forth. And even there, I mix it with vegetables sometimes too. So it's almost automatic. As I was saying before, when you do that dish 8 times the same evening, you have small variation too. Well, when you are, and you react to the food, that's why you react to it and so forth. The same thing with the painting. You react to it and you adjust. Is it right? But I would always say that people who do a recipe, if you do a recipe, my recipe, your recipe, whatever, you should do it exactly the way it is in the book the first time you do it, so that you get an approximate idea. It cannot be exactly the same. A chicken is never the same. The weight of it, the stove, whether it's humid, whether you're in a good mood or not. Whatever.
Bad mood, you see?
Yes. But you should do that recipe exactly the way it is. If you like it, you're likely to do it again. So the second time you take a faster look. By the third time you say, maybe I put a bit more tomato in there.
I want to do this or that. Exactly. Then you make it your own.
You massage it to your own. And a year later, 2 years later, it's your recipe. It's not mine anymore. And that's the way a recipe should progress, in my opinion.
I agree. It should have a life of its own. It should grow with you and then become yours, not mine, not yours, not anybody's. I love you so much, Jacques. I can't thank you enough for doing this. I want to be a part of this year of celebration.
Oh, okay. Right.
I want to be a part. So have anybody call me. I will go anywhere. I will do anything.
Right.
There's so many, every great chef in the world is doing an event with you.
Chefs are very, very generous this way. You know, I'm always amazed how generous the chefs are and what they give you. And the process of eating together with chef, it's always one of the most joyful happiness, because people, you cook somewhere, they'll steal you your parsley, they'll steal your stuff. They're sitting in the kitchen, but we always end up sitting together, sharing the food, and there is no criticism, you know. And, you know, you can be seated next to the governor of California, and on the other side is the dishwasher of the restaurant.
That's right, yes.
But you don't know. You open a conversation. So food really equalizes people, bring them together. So that's important to keep feeding the world.
That is what I love most about food and gathering at a table. It makes everyone more calm and brings people together, and it brings generations together. It takes you places you've never been. It takes you to places you dream of going, and it brings you to your soul. It brings us to what we are as human beings. I am a better human being for knowing you. I am so blessed to have come to know you in my life, and I thank you so much for doing this with me.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for all you've taught me. And don't forget our pinky promises.
All right. Okay.
I love you.
Thank you.
I'm Rachel Ray, and this is I'll Sleep When I'm Dead. Keep up to date with this podcast across all social media platforms at Rachel Ray and at rachelray.com. I'll Sleep When I'm Dead is produced by Joanna Jojo Paredes, Tommy T.C. Crudup, Andrew Cappy Kaplan, me, Rach, and special shout out to my husband, John, the Kuz Kuzumano, who provides not only the music for our show, but he's been my wingman pretty much every episode of this podcast, and I'm using his studio for it. Thank you, honey. Also, we have editing help from Joel Yetten. Subscribe to this podcast on your listening site of choice, and thank you for listening to I'll Sleep When I'm Dead.